The movement must continue. See, we let it go to sleep. This movement's got to be woke up again.
All right, guys, how are you doing today? My name is Renee Unique with Unite Louisville on the Plug Network Online. And look, I'm just going to keep it real and honest like I always do, keep it 100. There's so much going on in the community right now, not only here locally, but all over the U.S., from school shootings, from grocery, people getting shot in the grocery store. You can't even go shopping anymore. You wake up in the morning and you just don't know what might happen because we just have so much that's going on. A lot of people are walking around with guns and with this mental illness, and it just has to stop. The gun laws, the legislation, so much that we're still pushing and advocating for. And then here we go again, here in Louisville, Kentucky, we have another police shooting. So I invited my sister girl on here, Tamika Palmer. She's brought a guest from Miss Yvette, right?
Mm-hmm.
Miss Vet. And we all know that we're out here still fighting for justice. And I cannot stress enough, this has been going on for the past, we over 2 years now?
2 years.
Yeah. 2 years. First, I want to say thank you for coming on the show today. I know it's a lot that's been going on the past couple of years, and a lot that needs to be said that you want to say, a lot that I want to say to you myself. And so first I want to say, how you doing? I know everybody asks, like, how are you doing? But how are you really doing?
Well, first, thanks for having me. How am I doing? Good days and bad days, really. That's all you can say. I'm lucky enough to have some good people in my life who try and keep me afloat most days. But it's still those moments though when you're by yourself that this thing just keeps replaying over and over in your head. But I get up and I start the day.
Right. Because you're a strong woman. You're a very strong woman. Because I cannot imagine what you have been through, from just not only you still fighting for Brianna, but just what people think, say in the public.
Oh my God.
The judgment, the ridicule, the lies, the media,
Mm-hmm.
the vultures, just everything, just people always coming at you. And it's always, the unanswered questions. And
it's crazy. 2 years ago I could say whatever I want and nobody gave a shit about who I was, and now, God forbid, I say anything. They take anything and try and like tear it apart. It's so unreal. But for me, in the beginning it bothered me so much, and I cried and cried and cried, and then I just, people remind me of who I was before all of this, because beforehand I would have been, done some other stuff, cussed you out and kept it moving and not even cared, because that's just what it was. And so now people make, this thing happens to me and people, all of a sudden I'm this other person. Now I can't say what I want or how I feel. And I'm supposed to let people say whatever the hell they want to me and be okay with it. And I'm over it. Like, no, like I'm the fuck over it.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah. And, have you had a chance to watch The Vice here lately?
To be honest, I have never watched anything I've ever been I can't, I don't. I've heard about it. Of course, people send me clips. So I usually see certain pieces to stuff because people will always send me clips and whatnot. But to sit down, I've never watched any of it because.
Right. And the reason why I brought them up is because they do a lot of investigations with the police department.
Mm-hmm.
And we know that our police department is there's a lot I want to say.
Yeah.
And there's a lot I want to say. There's a lot of things that need to be covered. There's a lot of things that they bury. There's a lot of bad seeds that they just basically, just need to get the hell up out of the police department. And that's it.
Absolutely.
There's so many untold stories that people are trying to either still fighting in the court system,
Mm-hmm.
right? It's a mess, and it's unbelievable. And I sat there and watched it the other day, and the whole time my mouth was just wide open. It's not that I didn't believe that it was happening, because you know what I'm saying? We
Mm-hmm.
know that these things are happening, right? So I know that I can't say the experiences that you've been through, because I would never understand. I know a lot of people say that they understand, but I understand as a mother, and not only that, as a friend to you. Like, I've reached out to you. I've always said that.
Mm-hmm.
I've always said, and I mean that from the bottom of my heart. And I can say that right now, what really disgusts me is the things that they've been trying to cover up, and I'm just going to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be honest. Just the things that are being covered up from, even from the Attorney General. I mean, all of that. All of that.
Yeah.
So
right from the very beginning, it's been one cover up after another. It's been we watch these shows all the time. You see these things, you hear these stories, but until it happens to you, like, you will never fully grasp all the stuff that happens in these situations. How, like, I would never imagine my daughter being killed by the police anyway. That wasn't the type of life she lived. I'm a person who believes in, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. It wasn't her sword, and that was a problem for me. And so I refused to let them make that her sword or whatever.
Right.
And that was the thing. And so they're in this profession where you really can't afford to have a few bad apples. It's just, you can't,
You're here to serve and protect us, and that's it.
And that's what it is. And so then, you hear these stories, well, there's good cops too. And no one's saying that. But the moment you watch these officers do these things to other people, you become one of those bad cops as well, And so, like I said, just from the very beginning, how they were trying to cover this thing up, how they gave me the runaround that night. I went to the hospital. I sat there for 2 hours waiting and looking for Brianna, and then to return, and for them to, the first thing they asked me was, did I know anybody who wanted to hurt Brianna or Kenny? Then they asked me if Brianna and Kenny had been having any problems, as if Kenny had done something to her, So it was like, to
trying to twist words around.
Yeah, to be there for over 12 hours and leave and still never knowing that the police had shot her. I didn't find that out until after I was back home and the TV was playing in the background, and to hear them say that they were in this shootout with known drug dealers or something of that effect, and to say that address pissed me off. Like, what are you talking about? So I instantly, because after being there, the detective gave me his card. Now I'm calling, because what are they talking about? Like, I just was there for 12 hours and you never told me the police shot her. Like, I left there thinking someone tried to break in there, and till this day, no one has ever called me back from that police station. No one ever called me back.
You've got to be kidding.
No, they never called me back. They never did any of that, which was why I ended up getting an attorney. When I got a lawyer, it was simply trying to figure out what had happened to Brianna. Like, I never realized how political this thing would become. I never realized that this would be this huge, any of that. All I cared about was what happened to her and who was going to pay for it.
Right, exactly.
And so,
Right, exactly. And that's the thing too, is getting that phone call in the middle of the night as a mother, and just your heart is broken when you find out what happened. And then your mind is already, one, you're trying to get answers, and then you're getting all these phone calls, people just calling you, and the text, and just I'm sure like everything just happened, just so radically, so fast, and the thing about it, just even watching what has happened during the movement, the protest, was watching. Sometimes, like, you ever find out like who's actually for you, who's actually here, who's actually to support you, who's trying to get into your pockets, who is the vultures, who, because are you still talking to any of these people? When we come back, we can go on break. It always happens when I'm ready to just kick some ass. But we can go on break and come back. All right. So.
Want your brand or business featured on The Plug? Advertise with us at plugnetworkonline.com. Again, advertise with us at plugnetworkonline.com. We got the eyes that are looking for you.
Thank you guys for joining us. Again, my name is Renee Unique with Unite Louisville on the Plug Network Online. And I have Tamika Palmer here and Miss Vet with us in the studio today. And we were talking about everything that has happened here the past couple of years. And, before we went on break, I was talking about how I was asking her, when it first happened and just even now, just during the whole protest, the movement and everything that's happened, we want to know who's, how, because I know so many people, they're like, Tamika, can you do this? Can you do this? Can you do this? And and who has actually been there for you and supported you. And, always just like maybe having those vultures or those calls of people in it for different reasons. And that's what we were talking about.
It is crazy, right? How people will take this thing and try to capitalize off of it, right? Which is unreal. Like, of course, you heard the stories about Black Lives Matter, about local organizations, just people, right? Like, I myself never in a million years would think to try to make money off someone's pain, right? I never. And I would never subject myself in someone's story and then act as if I'm owed something or I'm due some sort of anything from it. So I can't imagine that, right? Like, still to this day, it's 2.5 years later, and to still be dealing with that, right? The people who I thought would be there for me aren't. The people I never imagined being there are. But but the battles are still, you know, you got to argue and fight with your family, your friends, every person wanting to pass some sort of judgment about anything. If I talk to a new person today, oh, they just trying to use you, like as if I have no common sense to know.
Right. And there's actually there are good people out there with good hearts and good intentions, and there really is.
And they showed up, right? Like it took a few moments because when Breonna was killed, it was the start of COVID, right? So people really, everybody was so consumed with COVID and people dying, and so people didn't really know. A lot of people didn't even really know what had happened to Breonna. It wasn't until we all watched George Floyd be killed on camera that people started to pay attention to what had happened to Breonna. Right. And so by then, people were, outraged, so people were showing up, people you just never even imagined, because here we are now. Not only did Breonna get killed in her home, you heard all these other stories that you are learning that wasn't true, you know what I'm saying? And then she's a 26-year-old girl in her house working through COVID, and this thing happens to her. Like it just was unreal, but like good people did show up. Good people showed up and cried and demanded justice and stood through a lot of this with me. Early on, when people wasn't listening to me, Christopher 2X was amazing to me. Sean King and Until Freedom were like the first people reaching out to make sure people found out what happened to Breonna, and to make sure people knew that LMPD fucked up and they were wrong. So I will be eternally grateful for those people, but I'm grateful for the people in the community. I'm grateful for people all around the world. And I tend to try and make sure I say that often, because I don't know I can never say thank you enough, but I want people to know that, I did, and I continue to appreciate the support. So.
Now I have, I know here the past, because you've been traveling a lot, advocating for other families that have went through the similar situation that you have been in, and I know you met some amazing people, and just not only because you have a strong backbone, back support, and helping those other individuals. I want to say thank you for that, for being their support and their hero and their advocate as well. So, so what have you currently here recently are doing, and what can we do to support? I know you just went to the White House.
Yeah.
Right. So
I did.
So tell us about that. About that.
It was interesting. It was interesting. I mean, of course, I went there for the signing of executive orders. There was a number of things that put into play: the banning of no knocks, chokeholds, the body cam. There was a number of things, but the thing of it is what people have to remember is all of those orders were signed, for federal agents. So they don't necessarily apply to our local and state.
It's just for federal.
Yes, to local. Yeah.
Interesting.
So a lot of people don't know that. And so the goal is that they hope that the local police stations will follow suit. But clearly we know that it's not the case, which is why we keep ending up in these situations, until there's any real accountability in these local agencies, they will continue to kill us.
So exactly. And so the thing about it is, so the federal law went into place, right? But here locally, that's something we still need to push for and advocate for police departments here.
And well, Breonna's law was passed here in Louisville, but it's a law that we are learning that needs to be everywhere. Like they are continuously killing us and getting away with it because there's no, but yeah, like you said, that was federal. The local agencies, though, are the ones killing us. And that's the part I can't, stress enough. And so people have to remember that why they're out there, what it is that they need to be doing, and why voting is so important, why all of these things that we never really thought about previously, right? So they need to pay attention to who they voting for. They need to.
And right, because we just had primaries. And, I did assist with the campaign, and I did notice, at the end of the night after the results, I just kind of shook my head. I said, Black politics, we are in trouble here in the state.
We definitely are.
Even though we had a lot of candidates that ran, but they didn't win their races. There were a few, but.
Right. And the thing of it is I think that I'm hoping over time that that'll get better, because a lot of people, really for us, Black people, are really just starting to pay attention to these things. You know what I'm saying? We're just realizing how important this is. We're just realizing we will forever be stuck with the Daniel Camerons of the world if we don't do the right thing, So they need to know that if you have a problem with people like him, it is you have a duty to go out and vote and know who you voting for, because we need people in there that's going to work for us, that, you know what I'm saying, not just everybody that look like us ain't for us.
Say that again. What she said. What she said, I stress that all the time, what she said. And that's the thing, like, people always wait. You're so right. Like, people always wait, well, it didn't happen to me, and it doesn't affect me, and I don't live over that side of town. Yes, it does. If you're Black, brown, and yellow, you.
That's it. Don't wait till it happens to you, because the moment it happens to any of us, it has happened to all of us. And that's the thing people have to remember, because whether it happened to be my child that day, whether it was your child, her, whoever, I have a duty now to fight with you, to stand with you. And it's so crazy how so many of us don't realize that. We walk around with our heads down and thinking that as long as your head down and you're not in the limelight, that you are safe. That is not the case. As you said, you can't go to the grocery store and be safe. You can't send your kid to school. Could you imagine sending your elementary child to school and then having to go back to identify their body? Never in a million years.
Say I love you and good morning, have a good day at school. And even, I have a third grader, and that broke my heart, and I sat there and just cried on the couch, and that's the thing. And it's with anything, just being a parent, period, and just, we have to do better. Our laws, our legislation, we have to support one another. We have to make that push out there, because this keeps continuing over and over and over again, and it's traumatic to just go through it, period.
Absolutely. Again, I can never stress enough, don't wait until it happens to you. That's number one. And number two, that, like you said, show up and care for other people, and just, it ain't even about who's doing what. Everybody has a position here. Everybody, that's the problem in our areas, right? Everybody's fighting about who's the better organizer, who's doing what, that's not the issue at hand. You know what I'm saying? The goal is for everybody to show up and everybody to have the same agenda. And people get so wrapped up in themselves and trying to be so important.
Trying to be the top dog and stuff.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I say, over and over that, like in my situation, you cannot be over me. That is my child. Like, the thing of it is so that puts me in that position, right? But it's not to say that I don't want you there with me. I still need you. I need you right by my side. But you can't push me out the story. You can't push other people out of their own stories. You can't. That's not what organizing it. That's not what helping someone fight is. And people tend to lose sight of that. And it's heartbreaking. And as a person, as the mother, I already got enough going on. I don't want to have to come and have to fight with you too. Like it's insane to me. And people got to remember that.
Right. And just piggybacking and agreeing with you saying it's like the right team. It takes the right team. You know, you need that right support. Who's going to fight with you behind closed doors? Who's going to fight with you right beside you?
Exactly.
Who's going to fight with you? Because the best fighters are the untold warriors. I say the unsung warriors because we have some type of fight, whether it's in ourselves, within our communities, and that's what we have going on. There's like a division. There's a division. You know, it's always somebody wants to know why this person's doing that, why this person's doing that, but you will lose the track of the vision. You will lose the track of the cause and the purpose, and that's why we do what we do here at Unite Louisville. And this is why Tamika is doing what she's doing for so many reasons for a lot of us. And when we come back, we're going to wrap up. And thank you for tuning in.
Want your brand or business featured on the plug? Advertise with us at plugnetworkonline.com. Again, advertise with us at plugnetworkonline.com. We got the eyes that are looking for you.
All right. Thank you, Plug family, for tuning in and coming back from your lunch break and joining me and Tamika and Miss Vet. And we were cutting up during the break. So we were really cutting up. Let me tell you something. Tamika has a warm soul. And her yesterday, Miss Vet, she's had us cutting up. A couple things I want to say. I know we talked about, well, let me be good. Let me be good as a couple things. So I asked Tamika at the beginning of the show. I didn't know that she hasn't watched the plug before until today. So, but I want to tell you, she's well represented as a beautiful lady as she always is. But so we just had our little inside jokes and stuff after, when we went on break. But honestly, we was talking about a couple of things about, hey, we need to work together. That's it. We need to work together. We need to, same purpose, same cause. We need to work together, and that's it. And so right now, do you have something, Miss Vet, to talk about? We was talking about earlier today.
The situation.
Yeah, the situation.
Well,
and tell everybody who you are. And
I'm your vet. I'm Tamika's friend. I've been knowing her a little over 20 years. I better not make no jokes right now. No.
Oh, look, you can. You do you.
Anyway, I have some nieces. They were actually my great nieces. A couple years ago, probably about 2 years ago, we didn't have it for about almost 3 years now. Got a phone call from my grandson that they had these kids. Later found out that the kids had been locked in their house for like 6 years, and nobody was looking for them. So the oldest girl, she's the one that got in contact with somebody and said they needed help, they needed to get out. We got them out, and we had to go down to Norton's hospital so they could check the girls out or whatever. So while we were there, me and the nurse was standing there. We was just like in awe. And she's like, "Are you okay?" I said, "No, I'm not." I said, "I want somebody to explain to me how do four black girls go missing in the state of Louisville, Kentucky, and nobody miss them. They like dropped off the earth." So the lady was like, "There's no medical records on them. There's no school records on them." I'm like, "So why didn't anybody come looking for them?" She gave birth to them here, so there's got to be a record that they were born here. But anyway, while we were at the hospital, they were parents against children were talking to them, taking turns talking to them, and we only had 2 then. So Bree, the oldest girl, was like, "We gotta go," and I said, "Well, where we gotta go now?" She said, "We gotta go get my other sisters." And I said, "What other sisters?" She said, "It's 2 more." I said, "Where they at?" She said, "We left them at the house."
Oh my God.
She's the oldest, so she came out with her and one of the middle girls, and then she left the sister under her to stay with the baby girl. She was the one that actually got out to get the help. So I got back, I had to go back down the hall, and I was like, "I need to talk to you." The police, the detective was there, and I said, "I need to talk to you." And she was like, "Hold on." I said, no, I like to talk to you now." So she came up, and I said, "There's 2 more girls." And she just, everybody just stopped, and they was like, "What?" I was like, she said, "It's 2 more, and they at the house." So now they had to figure out how they were going to get them out. So the mother was there with them. And they left Brooklyn. So Brooklyn wanted to tell the mother when she woke up that they were leaving and they were going to get out, get out. They wasn't going to come back. So anyway, they ended up going down at night with the police, and they got them out. And all of them at the bottom, all back up to the hospital. Right. The sad thing to me is that they went missing and nobody missed them. And then since they have been in state's custody, some of these social workers, therapists, they've made this ordeal for these kids way worse than it needs to be. A lot of times I'm frustrated. Tamika has her problems with them, but she's always willing to listen. And she kind of got thrust in the middle of some stuff one day, and she was like, I was like, "Yeah, that's what it's like. You don't know if they're going to be here today. Are they going to leave tomorrow?" My brother-in-law, my sister-in-law had them, and they both worked. So I was the one that was going to get them every day, taking them, trying to get them out. They had never, any restaurant that they wanted to go and eat at, when I got them, I took them. Every day we went to a different restaurant. They didn't know how to work the fountain machine. So we went to Dairy Queen, because they said on the news, on the TV, that Dairy Queen has good chicken tenders. I said, "Well, let's go to Dairy Queen." So they stood up in front of the pop machine. I forgot they didn't know how to work it. And I said, "All the circles, those are different flavors." And they was like, "Well, what they taste like?" So me being me, I said, "Hell, taste all of them." Yeah. Taste every single one of them. Right. So the guy let them taste. They got their little cups, and they tasted, and then I started taking them to church with me. So then they got baptized. So Brooklyn ended up getting prom queen this year. And she also got valedictorian. And she got her acceptance letter into U of L the day before yesterday. So while we were rejoicing and we were so happy, baby, her name is Dariah, I call her baby, she tried to take her life. So in the middle of being up, it's always up and down. It's like, you got to keep smiling, you got to keep praying, and hoping that they're going to be all right, that they're gonna be all right. So they had the pleasure of meeting Tamika, and that just tickled them, because they didn't know her math was so bad, but they love her to death. They love her to death. And just like the smallest things that we take for granted, these kids, I mean, get a pair of new shoes. Not to cut you off, just thinking about everything you said. It's so crazy that people get in these professions, right? And they get so consumed with it about the money, what money they trying to make and whatever, that the reason for them being in this position, right? And like you said, the state has made this ordeal, because I've been with her and watching these girls go through this, has made this ordeal so much worse for these girls. And again, because you got people in these positions who truly don't give a fuck, right? Yeah. It's not their child. It's not what they going through. So it's like, really, I'm just trying to get my check. And it breaks my heart to especially as a person who I've only ever worked in healthcare, and I get that you have good days and you have bad, but at the end of the day, you took that job because you wanted to help other people. You wanted to care for what people were going through. Right. So to say, like, it has to be a better system of screening who we are hiring in these positions. Because if it's all about the money, there are so many other jobs that you can apply for.
Right. Yeah.
And people need to do that and leave well enough alone. Because it has to be the right people in those positions, you know, to make these girls' lives even worse than where they came from is insane, simply because you don't feel like being bothered today.
It's crazy. Right. And the thing of millions of people are gone victims to kidnappings, abductions, rapes, criminal activity that's happening. I mean, thousands and thousands of people are missing every day. But us, for some reason, when it comes to Black women and Black girls, we for some reason we get left out, we get behind. You know, whether you're killing us, or just even the shirt that she has on today, right? Stand with Black women, and that's the thing. You know, we are getting. We're like the last of the pot, the last resort. We always second class citizens or second class best, right?
It's so crazy how simply saying stand with Black women offends people, right? And it's not to say that we're saying don't stand with other women. It just happens to be, though, as Black women, we are the most forgotten, the most disrespected, the most uncared for people in the world. And I get that some of us come off very strong and have terrible mouths. I get that.
Some of us have better manners and more respect.
I get that. But it does, you know, strong people need to be checked on as well. Black women care for every freaking body.
We care for everything. And a lot of things are on our back.
Right. And, we just had this conversation.
We
literally just had this conversation because they took the girls. We've had them for almost 3 years now. They came in, the social workers were going to their schools behind my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law. They were going to school talking to the kids. So like one day they came home and they said, we leaving. So whenever stuff goes down, they usually call. And I was like, what? And they was like, you need to get over here. The girl said they was leaving, but it was like a week. And I was like, we got to go, Tamika, come on. I was like, I got to go down here and see what's they're going to take the kids. And then they took the kids. Let me tell you about God. Let me tell you what God will do for you. I'm an Eastern Star. When I joined the Eastern Stars, I met this young lady named Felicia. Me and her came in together that night. We talked, exchanged information about each other, what we was doing. She told me she was a foster mother. I said, I got 10 kids. And we just went on and on. When the kids got taken, Felicia got the kids. I had no idea she had them. But my sister-in-law, some kind of way she found out she had them. So I called. I said, Felicia, are you getting some girls today? And she was like, yeah. I said, those are my girls. And she was like, "For your nieces?" I said, yeah. But they had been working. They had did stuff for Urban League. They did the register to vote. These kids have been dibbling and dabbling. Anything I can get my hand in, they were right beside me, dibbling and dabbling with me. And then babies just started going. They made baby talk to her mom and her dad. And they didn't like wing it on them. They just threw them out there and was like, here, talk to them. Made them, the social worker, Miss Rebecca, made them talk to their parents. And then Miss Rebecca had the nerve to tell the kids not to talk to us anymore. Myself, my brother-in-law, and my sister-in-law. And they have an older sister named Bree.
The worker.
The social worker, Miss Rebecca. Miss Rebecca. And I'm going to keep saying Miss Rebecca's name because I hope somebody sees this and find out who Miss Rebecca is.
Well, we have a lot of Miss Rebeccas in that are social workers.
Yeah. And she when I got the call to get to the hospital, and this is the second time baby had attempted suicide. So when I got there, I didn't know if she was alive or she was dead. The social worker, Miss Rebecca, was just sitting there. So I saw Mr. Henry. I was like, what is going on? I saw Bree. So Bree started explaining. They didn't really know what happened. They just knew the baby had took some pills. So when I finally got to go to the social worker from the hospital came out, Miss Rebecca, I got up quite naturally. I've been involved with them since I've had them. She's like, oh, can I talk in private? So they go down the little hall. I'm like, okay. So I go back to the back so I can see her. Well, I'm back there talking to her, and she's expressing some stuff about some people that have been around us that she don't feel comfortable around anymore, and just life in general. She's got stuff. These kids are going through so much more now than we have ever had to deal with. I mean, when you wake up and hear some of the stuff that they say, you're like, what? Why would you be thinking to kill yourself? Take your life? So I came out because my sister-in-law and Bree came back. Well, they was back for probably a hot second. And the social worker put them out. The social worker and the doctor put them out because Miss Rebecca called back and said she didn't want any of us back her besides Brooklyn and Mr. Henry. Well, I said, well, can Bree stay back here? This is her sister. And he said, no. Miss Rebecca said she can't stay back here either. Now, who are you?
That's
and
insane.
that's the thing, the insensitivity of our own culture. Insensitivity for those who don't let me rephrase that, that understand us.
Yeah.
That understands us.
Yeah. Oh, I was,
right.
I wasn't really mad because I guess I was more worried about the kids. And I couldn't, I mean, they like my kids. They like my kids. And I've always got somebody's kids somewhere doing something. They don't want to go home to their own mamas and daddies, but y'all can keep some of y'all kids home with y'all sometimes. Right. But anyway, I'm just saying. It's just crazy to disbelieve. I mean, it's like disbelief when somebody's like, don't talk to them. So if I pull my cell phone out right now and let y'all read these texts that Bree wrote me all night long about how Miss Rebecca treated her and talked to her and told her she didn't want the other kids to be in contact with her. So my philosophy for Bree, Nyla, Naraya, and Brooklyn, y'all stay together no matter what. Never let nobody break your bond y'all got, because if they start breaking it, they're going to pull y'all apart. And I said, first of all, when you get in trouble, you start praying and keep praying. And I didn't know if they had got it, but when they left that night, they came and took them from us. Brooklyn texted me the next morning. She said, we ain't going to never forget you, and we want to tell you thank you. And she said, and we ain't going to stop praying. We're going to keep praying. And I was like, okay, Brooklyn. And then I know you got it, so you was listening. But it's like, baby's like, why pray? I mean, look at my situation. She said, things are just getting worse. But baby's got a lot on her mind. They took these kids that was locked in the house for 6 years. Then they went to School of Phoenix, and 2 went to Phoenix and 2 went to Liberty. Baby wanted to go to real school. She wanted to experience being in the real school. They sent her to Western High School. And I said, I'm not knocking Western. I'm not saying anything bad about Western High School, because my kids can adapt to Western. These kids, it was so overwhelming for them, you know, and they just couldn't handle it. I mean, you took them and you threw them out there like wolves, and it's like they didn't prepare them. It's like now, baby's laying in the hospital. Talking about, I want to go home. She has no idea that, baby, you try to take your life again. You're not going home, honey. You're not going to get to go home.
Well, you know what? Thank you for stepping up. And I know those kids thank you for being there for them. And that's a lot that we all go through, just the trauma, mental stress. You know, we all need some type of counseling, because, with the depression and suicidal thoughts, that's what just reaching out to professionals, or just reaching out to your pastor, someone to talk to, or trust a friend, because that's the things that we go through. You never know what anybody's going through.
Right.
You don't. And that's the thing. Any type of resources that we can provide for you and your family, we can do that. We have counselors, mental health specialists, just for anything that we can do here to support you guys. All right, so we've had a deep conversation today, but we always want to keep it real and keep you guys informed, know what is going on out there. And so Tamika, you got some things coming up soon. It's Brianna's birthday, right?
It is June the 5th is her birthday. June the 3rd, we are having a dinner party for her, because Brianna is all about dressing up and being her best self and being around friends and family. So that's exactly what we're gonna do, to just honor who she was, and just, be grateful for what she's done to this world.
Yeah.
So that's really what the night will be about.
Yes. It's gonna be, where's it gonna be at? Is it gonna be at the
Melwood Art Center, June the 3rd, 6 to 10:30.
Doors open at 6.
Okay.
Yeah. So there'll be a few things. There'll be some poets there. There'll be a comedian. There'll be DJ, signature drink. Okay. Hopefully some good food. No, that would be great food because I am a chef and I am the one that's catering the party. Messing with her.
She's been talking about this brisket too, and I'm like, oh my God, it is memorial, what it being.
So, but yeah, so it'll be but then all weekend though, there's a couple of things going on. Janiyah, my other daughter, started, worked with some people for, Brianna's Garden. It's an app. So they'll be set up where you can visit this virtual garden. And so they'll be doing stuff with that on Saturday. There'll be, and then Sunday there's a brunch for Brianna. Yeah. So it's going to be a whole weekend of stuff. And so, yeah, anybody's welcome to come out, support, and honor Brianna.
Yes. Thank you guys for tuning in Unite Louisville. Like I always said, I am you. Keep continuing doing what you do and doing all the great things and out here fighting for what's right. And until next time, you have a good weekend and stay blessed.
Want your brand or business featured on the plug? Advertise with us at plugnetworkonline.com. Again, advertise with us at plugnetworkonline.com. We got the eyes that are looking for you.